Hello and welcome to the Breakdown and Banter show. My name is Hader and I'm your new host today. Usman is busy on other projects, so you've got to see my beautiful face or ugly face, depending on whether you're attracted to it or not, each week. And guys, look, to all the listeners, make sure you get involved. It is just such a shame that we're doing this in this sort of mood and this sort of fashion. I just didn't expect us to be that bad today. I don't think anyone did. And obviously, when everyone's looking around on Twitter, it's just a bit of a meltdown, and I completely understand the frustration. But let me bring in my guests because they're absolutely fantastic today. I've got three brilliant guests. I've got Joe in the top right-hand corner. How are you doing today, mate, Joe?
Wow. Yeah, I was all right, mate. And then 90 minutes of that sort of changed my mood a little bit. But yeah, no, we're all good. The sun's still been shining today. So onwards and upwards, and let's get ready for Tuesday.
Absolutely. I'm joined by Abdul. Abdul's got fantastic insight into tactics and the analysis side of the game. So, Abdul, pleasure to be working with you today, mate.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kojo, we've worked together a few times. How you doing, mate? You ran all the way home. Mate, you look like you're sweating more than the players who played the game, to be honest.
I probably ran more than them as well today.
Absolutely. Yeah, go on, mate. Nice one. Look, listeners, just keep on smashing that like button, that subscribe button. Let's get you involved. We've got the Green Devil again. Hello, mate. It's good to see you today. And yeah, look, let's just break it down and let's start. And I'm just going to start with you, Joe. And look, I don't want to go in on the manager too much because that's not my style. And I don't think he's the one necessary to blame. But I think when you're looking at the team selections, there was definitely a bit of surprise when you saw Greenwood on the bench. You saw Fosu Mensah playing. And, you know, the same sort of, I guess, defensive frailties that we saw with the centre-back partnership, you saw on exhibit today. And I think what was so frustrating is that we had creativity on the pitch, but we look like we played at the beginning of the season. We had Pereira, Lingard, and Fred in midfield. So just talk to me about the selection and what do you make of it?
Yeah, to be honest with you, mate, I was quite surprised with the team. I thought the team would sort of pick itself. I mean, things have become a little bit clearer, I think, during the game and after the game when, you know, it was sort of explained to us about maybe some players have not been with the team as long as others. And so therefore some are probably lacking the fitness required to play today. But I've also heard this argument that, you know, we've got a lot of games coming up, so squad rotation might be sort of needed from the start. But in my opinion, just with all the negativity that there's been around the team, the club this last couple of weeks, I actually would have gone as strong as I can today to try and get the 3 points and get us off to a flyer. I thought the club sort of owed the fans a win today after sort of some of the toxicity going on off the pitch. And I think that, you know, obviously he's probably got one hand tied behind his back because, like I say, with players being away and only just coming back to training, but you know, you'd just like to see us go strong today, get the win under our belt, and then move on to, well, not so much Tuesday, but, you know, next weekend with that first win in the league and go from there, really. But starting with a team like that, you know, straight away I started to think, well, you know, I predicted 4-1 before the game, and I massively brought that prediction down after I saw that team. So, yeah, I was a bit worried an hour before the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Green Devil sort of echoes, you know, your surprise. He says here, I didn't like the team, although if you can't play Dan James against Palace, who'd you play him against? I think he makes some very fair points. I think he wasn't the only one with a poor performance, but what you're seeing from James is you're wondering that does he really have the end product, the decision making? Those are big parts of your game. And if you look at someone like Greenwood at such a young age, he's got that in abundance. So when I look over at Dan James, I think, what are you actually offering? And I do feel sorry for the lad because I just don't think he's good enough even to be playing on the squad. And look, Kojo, talk to me about this team selection as well. Do you agree with that? Were you surprised at all with what you saw? And did it sort of play out the way you thought it would?
I was, when I say fearful, that's an understatement. When I saw the right side of the team. Anyone that's listened to any sort of platform that I've been on, once they mention the name Timothy Fosu-Mensah to me, I immediately get annoyed because he's not of any quality, in my opinion, to play for Man United Football Club. And Daniel James starting as well did bad for me as well. I understand everything with Greenwood, but the guy said Greenwood's ready. He can play, so I just didn't understand why he didn't start. But that's why I was fearful. I understand the rest of the team is good enough, and to be fair, the team should be good enough to go and win the game. By the end of the day, they weren't. And if they feel like they can target a side, especially Palace knowing full well that Van Aanholt on that side in the past. You're talking about the past, Van Aanholt, Zaha. You got Zaha there. They got Eze that plays along that side as well, on the other side as well. I just worried from the jump. I couldn't not worry because I saw that everyone knows Zaha's their key man and he plays on the left side. So if any danger is going to come, it's going to come from him. And you play Fossey Mertz right back. And I can't forgive Oli for that. That's a silly decision in my opinion to make. I understand about, some players want fit, all that stuff. By the end of the day, I feel like we still got better options. I would prefer Dallo. I don't know how people feel about that. Personally,
I agree, mate.
I've never been a fan of Timothy Fossey Mertz at all. His loan spell, well, I think 2 years now, but his loan spell at Fulham didn't convince me that he was going to be any good because I just saw a player that wasn't good enough. So all in all, as well, he said when he saw the scoreline, his prediction went down. I immediately got flashbacks of what happened last year when we lost at home to them, and it's happened again. So,
mate, I don't know what to say, mate. I don't want to say. I mean, Greg Lawson, hello, mate. Good evening. Thanks for coming on and contributing. All the listeners, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, retweet this as well. We're going to get as many of you Reds involved. Look, it's an absolutely terrible way to start the season. I don't think any of us predicted it. I'll be honest with you. I was positive. I tweeted out before the game. I said, look, let's just park the negativity. Let's just park the transfer news. Let's park the whinging about the team lineup, even though I was also a bit puzzled. And let's just focus on the boys and just supporting the team. And look, so hard. And Barry over here, hello, mate. How you doing? Good to see you here. When one saw the lineup, there were no surprises. Tactics pathetic. Abdul, I'm going to bring you in on the tactical side because, look, Padel is set up exactly the way I expected them to set up. I'm not going to lie. We all know they're going to sit deep. They're going to play that low block. They had pace and they had trickery on the counter. We knew they were going to play that way. We just fell right into their hands, and that defense, especially that centre-back pairing, could not keep up with the pace of Ayew, with Zaha, with Townsend. And would you blame Oli for the tactics? Because I think, as Barry says here, the tactics, I didn't see anything from Oli to try and counteract what Palace were doing. I mean, maybe you see differently. So talk to me about the sort of tactical setup of United and what went wrong for us today.
I think Kojo hit the nail on the head here when he said when he saw the lineup, the right side was non-existent. Now, I don't know Ollie's reasoning for them, like, physicality, fitness, them coming late and whatnot. I don't know his reasoning for putting these on. There has to be a good reason for that because we all know that his best 11 does not include James and Timothy Fosu-Mensah. In terms of how the setup was no different than the way we played post lockdown. It's just the difference is these players were not the same players that were playing that back then, in the sense of they were not on their game at all. Pogba was not on his game at all, even though he's required to do the same exact things. He did not change him or give him different instructions. Bruno Fernandes, the same thing. He was not on his game. Scott McTominay, okay, but like that's the level I expect from him. So I'm not gonna go too harsh on him. The two center backs, Maguire didn't do any apparent mistake. Like wow, how could you do that? But Lindelof, on the other hand, is another story. In terms of a setup, how we move the ball about, it did not change from post lockdown. So you would have your center backs would move wide so that De Gea would play the ball back to them. You would have one of your CDMs would be Scott McTominay or Pogba, depending on which one of them is pressured. So you would have, it would be a 2-3 and then a 1 and then another 3. I think, yeah. And up the field, it will be the two center backs. Scott McTominay is just a little bit ahead of them. And then Pogba and Bruno Fernandes would interchange their places with the fullbacks pushing up. So it will be like the 2-3-5 system, the pyramid. That hasn't changed, and that is good enough to beat the 4-4-2. Is more than good enough to beat the 4-4-2 because it will stretch the 4-4-2 as much as possible. The problem is the players weren't performing at all. So, I mean, you could put whatever system you want, but you could have played the 3-5-2 today, and if the players were up, like the players were like performing, they will beat, even though the 3-5-2 does not really like work very well with the 4-4-2, I would say. But the system itself had no issues. It's how the players were moving within the system. I think Van de Beek also said the comment that I really liked. He said our speed was, we were very slow. And playing a team like Palace, you're not going to get anywhere if you're playing slow. They'll move back into their shape very fast. So with a team like Palace, we know they're very organized in their two banks of four. If you're moving slowly, all they have to do is just shift side to side very fast, or like not even fast. I mean, you're moving slow, so just shift side to side depending on where you put the ball, and it's as simple as that. They will just double up on whatever wing you're on. Now, when it comes to the right side, we don't have.
Did you see the average positions, Abdul, from the thing that was released by United Arena, where you looked at pretty much majority of the team was over on the left, and Fosu Mensah was sitting deep, and James was honestly, average position was halfway line. Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, that's surely the first area that needs to improve, doesn't it?
Yeah, which is even more surprising because I don't know what Fosu Mensah's best position is. I don't know if it's right back or because he played CDM before. So I don't know which position for him is the right one. But Timothy Fosu Mensah, from the way he plays, he is better going forward progressively than he has at defending. But I didn't even see that from him. So it was baffling, like, okay, what are you good at? You know? So that was one thing. Dan James is just, the kid is just not good on the, like, I know Ollie wants to be fluid with the front three. I just don't think Dan James can do that.
Agreed.
Dan James, it's not the game for him at all, especially with the way Palace plays. So that's mainly the problems were that we were slow, we were non-existent on the right, too dependent on the left, and that suits someone like Palace. 4-4-2, they just move very slow with us, depending on where we shift the ball, and if you're not too quick in the central as well. So if you have Pogba, like, I mean, you can get away with the flanks not being good enough if your central play is good, which means Pogba and Bruno are on their A game. And this was the biggest factor why we were beating all the teams 3-4, 3-0, 2-5-2, and all that, because they were on fire, both of them. If that also is not on its A game, then you can pick whatever system, it's not going to work. You know?
Yeah, mate. That's a fantastic analysis. I completely agree. And when I look at Fosu Mensah and the Greendale, I put the comment up in a second, but he makes a great point that he looked like a great CDM prospect a few years ago, completely. And I don't think he's a right back. I don't think he's a centre back. And when you actually look at United, it was two poor loans for him. He went to Fulham, he went to Palace, and got displaced by Wan-Bissaka. You brought him back. He hasn't been in United's team for 3 years. Look, I don't want to go in on the lad because I really liked him in the academy. I thought this guy can come and take that defensive midfielder position. But when you're looking at him now, you look in the modern game, your fullbacks need to be good going forward, in my opinion. And with a right side like that, of course, your attack is going to be lopsided. I mean, I don't know what you or anyone else was expecting. Joe, I'm going to go on to you. But look, there's a few comments here. I'm going to read them out because, look, everyone should be entitled to their opinion. Hello, Stephen, mate. How are you? It's good to see you back here. Our experts on Sky know more about our weaknesses than Ollie or our clowns running the club. Look, mate, we're going to go on to the owners and the ambition later, but I just think the whole attack on Ollie that people are doing is just unacceptable because at the end of the day, you know, we've seen Mourinho, he's failed. We've seen Van Gaal come, we've failed. This is bigger than the manager. Someone commented earlier, it went past now, but this is bigger than the manager. To turn on the manager because of this, don't get me wrong, he should be responsible for the tactical, tactical sort of plan for the team and how he sets the team up. But at the end of the day, the players didn't turn up. There was no passion. There was no desire. There was nothing to me that suggested that these guys were whose heads weren't still on the beach. You know, first game of the season at Old Trafford, and to turn up like that, to play like that. I saw Zaha steaming towards goal, driving so direct, and players jogging back to get him. That's unacceptable. The first thing you do as a Man United player is you work hard. That's the bare minimum. You pay for the badge on that chest. You work hard. You bust a gut, and you don't leave anything left on the pitch. And United did not do that today. So they got outworked. That was the first thing. Secondly, tactically, they were bad. But it's mistakes after mistakes. I'm going to come to you, Joe, and what needs to improve? Like, I think we have a whole list of things that need to improve. But from a tactical or a footballing point of view, in that side, what needs to change for the next game?
Well, first of all, like you said, mate, they need to wise up to the fact that this is a Premier League and this is a level, and they need to up their intensity. That's the first and foremost thing. I think it wasn't just like from a fitness point of view either. It wasn't like just the running and the energy. Even things like I saw players bouncing off tackles, but Tominay was bouncing off tackles. I mean, the third goal, Lindelof just got to take everything there. He's just got to come through. He's got to clear the ball and just be stronger. For me, he's just not strong enough there. And that, again, is due to like a lack of sharpness or a lack of, but maybe with Lindelof actually could be more than that. We've seen this one too many times now with Lindelof, to be honest. He seems to lack a bit of bravery needed to play that position as well as pace, and there's a lot of other things. So I'm slowly starting to lose my patience with Lindelof. We bought him as a sort of, I think, a defender that's going to be comfortable on the ball. There's plenty of times I've seen him give it away. I'm not convinced with him in that area either. But moving ahead to sort of, let's forget Luton on Tuesday for a minute and moving ahead to Brighton, which has become a massive game now. The team's just got to show more energy. You hope that they'll be better for this run out, because at times they even look like a team who never played together before. And, there's a lot of combinations in that team today that were playing well last season. The Pogba, Bruno Fernandes pivot, Rashford and Martial up top, Bruno and Martial. But today it just looked like they'd lost it a little bit over this couple of weeks that they've had off. So you'd hope that those combinations will get sharper for next week. And if they come back, then, maybe we can scrape past Brighton. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't want to sound too sort of depressing, but I can't see there being a massive step up in the performance. But, hopefully there'll be enough of an improvement to get us past Brighton.
Yeah, mate, I agree. And Ryan Duffy here, if you move ahead with no more signings, we will struggle. I don't want to think about it. What I will say is this first 11, if you put Wan-Bissaka back in, you put Greenwood back in, I do honestly, and you put maybe a Van der Beek or Matic. I think we missed Matic so much today. I don't think people realize how much of importance he is to this United side going forward. I think positionally, McTominay he doesn't have the awareness to play in that deep role. I don't think he has a passing range as well to play in that deep role. And when you look at him today, he got caught on the ball too much, and I've just got a problem with him playing there. But look, I'll come to Kojo first, and I'll come to you, Abdul. But look, Kojo, man, the lack of transfer activity is worrying. The ambition of the club is worrying. If I just read out some of these comments, and we got the Green Devil here. Doesn't matter who the manager is. We're broken from the top down. To think that it doesn't trickle downwards to the squad would be naive. It's creating a horrible culture and a losing mentality within the club. Mate, that is the best comment I've heard tonight, and it's completely true. People that are calling for Oli out really need to give the head a wobble. But what I will say is that, as Neil says here, I worry for Oli's position moving forward. I've stated before we need a fast start to the season. I do worry for that. And look, I've got a little theory that I've been playing with, and you guys can shut me down in the comments. That's fine. But something that I said to Joe in the group chat, and I said, this reminds me of the lack of action and the lack of ambition they were showing in Jose's season, the one before he got sacked. And look, I would not put it past Woodward. He went behind Van Gaal's back to get Jose. He went behind Jose's back as well to sack him. Pochettino's available. It would not surprise me if he's being, again, not spending the money because he wants a different manager to come in. I mean, Kojo, the lack of transfer activity, does it worry you, obviously? And surely the first thing United should be doing is getting on that phone to Upamecano, putting 50 to 60 million down and be like, right, get him in. If you can't afford Sancho, go and get someone like Sarr. Get more than one player in and get Telles, because this squad or this first 11 needs quality now.
Where do we even begin with that? I mean, we I think for the last 7 years in general, we've been screaming at this team's transfer activity. But this summer was not even worse because we're still in the window. It's very alarming because, I mean, we all as fans, people outside of the fan base, pundits, no matter how good or bad you think they are, everyone is in agreement with one thing, that we need reinforcements, because we can talk about our first 11 being good, and that's always on paper. It's always on paper. but the results have to match. And also the first 11 have to be backed up by 7 substitutes that we can deem worthy to replace one of them if they're not good enough on the pitch. We don't have that. We don't have that. The fact that we saw the starting lineup and we were immediately worried just because of 2 players on the pitch, not the rest of them, because of 2 players on the pitch, kind of screams a lot. Now, the thing about Ole is I will always say, get at him for his team selection and in-game management. No problem if you go on his neck about that, because as coach, you want them, as your team's coach, you want them to do better. You want your manager to do better for the team.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, yeah, I mean, we've already heard many times that Mourinho wanted like defenders after he finished second with us that season, and we didn't get anyone in there to the point where in one game against West Ham paid Scott McTominay centre back. Whether that was self-sabotage or not doesn't matter, because the person that was next to him was Phil Jones. So that's sabotage in itself anyway, because there's nothing else you can do. But that's the point. We've been asking for these players to go. I mean, someone like Jones, someone like Ashley Young. Ashley Young's not here anymore, and Chris Smalling. They got extensions during Ole's caretaker run.
Yeah.
Smalling got sent away on loan. Ashley Young isn't here anymore, and Phil Jones doesn't play football. So the activity in general has just been an utter mess. You talk about transfer activity as a joke. Contracts has been a joke. Pogba's in his last year. What's going to happen with that? Because people talk about, player power. I think player power has always been existent. I think always we had a manager that was just able to win things with anyone and everyone. So, we didn't have to worry about players leaving. If they left, they were easily replaceable. But that's because we had him and David Gill doing the right sort of transfers with a few bums here and there. We look at this one now. We look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Matt Judge. We have no confidence in them because their activity in the past has been a joke. And I always tell people to refer back to 2013, where, yes, we got Fellaini, even though we could have got him earlier in the window for a lower fee because of his clause, but we waited till the last day anyway to get him for a much higher fee. But on top of that, we went for players that we were never going to get. Bale was really going to Real Madrid. Everyone knew that. Everyone and their mother knew that. But we went to go and bid for him anyway. Yeah. Tony Kroos, we messed that up somehow. I just found out yesterday that Thiago was flipping. Pardon?
He was about to join us in 2013 as well.
Yeah, exactly. He was about to join us, and then we messed it up as well. And this is history. People use the meme about football heritage as a joke, but that is football heritage under Woodward's sort of wherever he is now, chief executive BS. That's what it's been. It's been mess after mess after mess after mess. I'm even sure the players that we got like Angel Di Maria and Falcao, I'm sure they had something to do with the agents. I don't think it's anything that we really went in there for, because Van Gaal has an interview with BBC Sports saying he didn't want Di Maria. Now, a player of that quality, if you didn't want him, who brought him in? That's where the questions have to come in. So if we're looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, yes, get onto his case for the things that happen on the pitch. But off the pitch, you can't talk to him because he's not responsible for any of the calamity that we have in the transfer window. It is that simple. So I understand the anger, and people always look at the manager and the players first. It always happens. But as a fan base, we have to open our eyes. And if there's anyone else that has any sort of doubts as to what the board are doing, you got to look at it now. I said it to my friend as well today. If we sign Sancho, and they bought in October when the window's about to close, that's 2 months too late.
Absolutely.
Should have been done a long time ago, because we've heard from August that he had the papers signed, we've agreed contracts, we've agreed this and agreed that. So if you've agreed it and you wanted him, instead of waiting till the last day to pay the money, why haven't you paid it now? Even Donny van der Beek was supposed to go to Real Madrid and then coronavirus messed it up. So he's paying the player that was going to come to us in the first place.
Mate, that's why what he thought today. He honestly probably just sat there and thought, one, why am I not starting? Because I've seen what was going on. He looked the best player. And that's one positive I want to say. He looked the best player. I'm going to go on to Abdul. Kojo, I completely agree, man. Honestly, the Green Devil's giving you some love as well. He agrees with you. That is a fantastic summary. And that's the thing, Abdul. Look, at the end of the day, everyone's going on the manager. I had this back and forth with one guy on Twitter who I've sort of been following for a long time. He's a mate of mine, but honestly, every 2 seconds it's Ollie this, Ollie that. Mate, the problem is bigger. We're not saying, as Kojo said, obviously there's what happens on the pitch, the way the team is set up, the man management, it's down to the manager. But there's a big legacy issue at Man United where the Glazers, obviously Joel Glazers micromanaging each deal. He's the one that sees the value. He's the one that sees whether we should sign a player or not. What is a metric for these people? They're businessmen. I always use this analogy. Man United got 100 million for getting into the top 4. When you finish first, it's only about a 30 million extra in revenue. So why? Look, they're businessmen. They're not football people. Why would they spend 200 million on transfers to get an extra 30 million on revenue for winning the Premier League? And this is what we have to understand. Everyone can go in and Ollie, but Ollie is literally just going to be the fall guy if this carries on. And then the next manager is going to come in and it's rinse repeat. Let's say if Pochettino came in, we'll go out the top 4, we'll probably finish 6th. They'll go and spend 200 million. They'll get the players he wants. He'll have a good season. He'll get to 2nd or 3rd or 4th, whatever it is. And then they'll do the same thing. They won't back him. Why? Because it's much more financially beneficial for United to be in the top 4. And they don't need to spend any more to go more. They don't need that extra revenue because it's not worth it for them. And that's the problem. You need footballing positions and footballing people in footballing positions. Abdul, I'm going to come on to you. Look, I don't want to blame Ollie for this. Tactically, I think, perhaps he could have done things better, but looking at Paul Pogba, and he's apparently going to sign a new contract, but he's going to be looking around and thinking, where's the ambition? Where's the quality coming in? I'm wasting my prime years at a club who doesn't match my ambition. We got to be careful because Bruno Fernandes is a top player with a top mentality. You give him 18 months of this and he's going to be out the door to a Real Madrid or Barcelona. Surely that's a worry for us.
Yeah, I have no doubt. Like, Ollie has done a good job in terms of his man management with these players. He gave them a reason to stay. He gave them a signal that, we're going to move forward all together. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But like you said, exactly, if the board is not showing ambition, they're going to go back to Ollie and tell him, look, we like you. You've been our coach since we're with the Pogba, Lingard, and the ones that he coached when he was back with United. But the club is not moving forward. We want to win things. We have ambitions too. So even if Pogba respects Ollie and love him and he wants to work for him, he's going to tell him, I'm sorry, Ollie, but I can't stay here, And same with Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes probably also has respect for Ollie, and he said it a couple of times. Most of these players do, but they look at the club and they're just like, it's not moving forward. You're not bringing people that can help us. Now, that doesn't excuse him from the performance today, especially Pogba. Like that was horrendous from Pogba. And I was just raving about him yesterday, saying, you know what, we don't need Thiago. Pogba's going to be our Thiago. But he really embarrassed me today.
Disaster class, mate. Disaster class, wasn't it? He was terrible.
Yeah.
He got caught on the ball too much. Something I have a criticism, if there is one, that he gets caught on the ball and too much deep. It causes problems because that defense is way for thin, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And look, with the regard of the system, the first 11 and the tactics, I'm not worried about that. I know Ollie made a mistake today with that right flank, and he will fix that. He knows that, and he knows his best 11. This is something we haven't even known under any other manager before him. But he will get the blame. Like the meltdown that I saw on Twitter, I tweeted just like a couple of minutes before the show. I was like, and the cycle continues. We're going to get on his back. He's not going to perform. The players are going to feel even more shitty about their performances than before. And then he gets sacked. We repeat the whole thing again. Two things also I said. I talked about the backing of the manager and the defensive organizations. These 2 points I want to talk about. The defensive organization, you could blame it if the goals you're conceding are from actual interplay of the opponents. So if the opponents interplayed you in a proper way and actually beat your defensive organization and then scored, then maybe your defensive organization is not good enough and you have to change the way it is set up. But when more than 25% of your goals are individual mistakes, then it's not a defensive organization problem, because any team will concede, right? But we conceded 36 goals last season. And if more than 25% of those were individual mistakes, either from Maguire, either from Lindelof, either from De Gea, or from Shaw, or from Williams, I mean, what can you do? Yeah. They have to improve their performances, because take 25% out of the 36, we're the best defensive organization in the league. So if you cut out their individual mistakes, That's one thing. The second thing is about the backing, right? I've always been saying this. What does backing mean? In the sense of, when you get a new manager, do you give him $500 million or pounds and tell him to, okay, here's 500, go do whatever you want, or do you just get him his target? So Ollie, his first target that we knew about was Erling Haaland. He did not get that. Second target we knew about Jude Bellingham. He did not get that. Third target we know that he wants is Jadon Sancho. He hasn't got that yet. Jack Grealish was a target. He did not get that. We got priced out and we got Van de Beek. Okay, you can say at least they got him a like for like, or at least someone similar in that they play in midfield. So, and then these targets changed to other people. Okay, get me Thiago. No, Thiago's not coming to us. Get me someone, like, he's not getting any of his targets, right? So if you don't get his target, no matter how much they cost, because people look at the cost and tell you that, oh, well, he spent 200 million already. He's been backed. I'm like, no, because 200 million on 4 players, while another manager can get with 200 million can get him 10 players. So our negotiation is miserable, very, very bad. And we can't get any good prices on any players. We always get priced out or pay over the odds for any player. So our manager to be backed has to spend over 500 million, while other clubs' managers can be backed with only 200. It's not about the amount that he spent. It's about, did he get his target and the amount of his and the players he needed, whether they're 5, 4, 3, whatever.
Well, I will ask you quickly, Abdul, before I go on to the other guys. But so you say 500 million. Are you saying it because of the quality of the squad? Are you saying it because, for example, Liverpool signed Jota for 35 million, right?
Yeah.
And look, he's a good player. He's going to provide some excellent depth for them. If United are coming through the door, and I was speaking to our man, James Jackson, how you doing today? Our strongest 11 isn't close to good enough. Look, I think our strongest 11 on their day is good enough to get into the top 4. You can disagree with that, but I think we got to remember the level we were playing at after the lockdown. I think it is. We all know the squad depth's an issue, but Abdul, if I said to you, is it you saying 500 million for us because of the quality of the squad? Or are you saying it because when United come into town, the price is going to be 20 million? So Jota would have been 55 million, not 35, and that's a real problem. And is that because of United negotiation, or is it because United, it's just United and Ed Woodward went around and told everyone that we can spend like no one else? Because that's so stupid. It's like walking into a shop, I don't know, buying a bed and being like, hi, I've got £2 million, show me a bed. Like, why would you do that? You got to negotiate down. It's the arrogance. United are arrogant, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Like Kojo was saying, like it's a heritage that we've built over the past 7 years, that we're willing to pay over the odds to show off that we're the richest club in the world. We're willing to pay exorbitant amount of money on wages just to show that we can do that, and we can do things that no one else can do in the market, like Ed Woodward said. So that's hampering the managers. That's destroying any manager you're getting at the club. When Man United spent 200 on just 2 players, 200 million on just 2 players, that's not backing the manager. That's Man United being dumb in the market.
Yeah.
On paying 200 for 2 players.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that our negotiations are really miserable. We've created this heritage that Kojo was talking about of paying over the odds, of paying for even wages and transfer prices, and that's destroying every single manager that's going to come to United. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah.
Can I just say?
Yeah, of course, man.
The club has since we lost Alex Ferguson and David Gill, the club has pretty much abandoned everything that was smart about our business. So, you know how when we used to spend 30 million on a player, and everyone was like, "Oh, only Man United can spend 30 million on a player," which was utter BS. But the fact is, how many players did we generally spend 30 million on? Rio Ferdinand, Wayne Rooney. Van Persie was even 30 million pounds. Berbatov was 30 million pounds. Like, they were smart transfers. And I made this point that Alex Ferguson also hated dealing with super agents because they automatically make sure you pay big fees as well. So when he signed players, they were either Premier League made They're either young guys that were coming from other countries, or they were good enough players, but just in leagues that we didn't know about. Someone like Vidic, for example, that we didn't even no one really watched Vidic unless you were like a super duper fan that watch every Super League. Like the targets were smart, and when we bought someone for big money that time, it was well thought out. There was a plan behind it. Rooney was an investment for the future, and it paid off phenomenally. Rio Ferdinand was one of the best defenders in the country already. These were in the downward spiral. We brought him in. Berbatov was doing things for Tottenham, and we wanted to bolster the front line after winning the Champions League. So what do you do to make sure we get that third Premier League title at very least and make it another final? You add Dimitar Berbatov, considering you don't know also that if Tevez is staying or not. Like, it's all common sense. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Woodward in like his first couple of weeks said that he wanted to build like sort of like a Galactico model at United? And I was sitting there. I remember sitting there hearing that, thinking the Galacticos weren't that successful at Real Madrid.
Yeah,
like,
they weren't.
Of the whole period of time, they didn't win that much.
03 to like the sort of 2010, but yeah, they won one La Liga, I believe.
Yeah, one La Liga, no Champions League.
Yeah, exactly. So why would you think in this period of time that's a good idea? And then your neighbors, as much as I hate praising that stupid club, but look at the signings they made in their period of time after they lost their first owner and bought like Robinho, Elano. That didn't work out. They restructured everything and started buying incredibly smart. And suddenly they're winning stuff. That's the difference, you know. So I hate the fact that we've given away our morals, because the only thing I can recognize by Man United right now in tradition-wise is the fact that we still have academy players is the 18 of every game. That's the only thing I can remember about this club right now. Everything else, I feel like we've lost it.
Go on, Abdul. Then I'm going to go to Joe. But go on, mate.
Yeah, just a small point. Like, you know how everybody raves about how Man City win their way to things and like pay way too much money. Well, Pep Guardiola in 4 years got over 30 players, right? But with over 30 players, he just outspent United by a little bit, by like 300 million.
A little bit.
Yeah,
literally a little bit.
Yeah, but he got over 30
players. Yeah,
that's smart spending.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Look, I'm going to read out this comment, Abdul. You make a completely great point there, because United, look, if you actually look at City, when have they spent more than 60 million? They're not going to go and spend 100 million on a player. They're clever. Ferran Torres was 20 million. If anyone wants to know how good Ferran Torres is going to be, maybe not this season, might take him some time, but you're going to watch him become one of the best wingers. United an interest in him. If they're not going to go and spend the money on Sancho, then what are you doing? You could have got him for 20 million and then gone and bought a centre back, which you need so badly. Manchester USA, welcome tonight, mate. And look, he's completely true. And he's completely right in what he's saying. I think the big discussion in this is not the money spent, but where the money is spent. Look, that is exactly what I've been raving on Twitter for probably, Joe will know this, about 2 weeks. People that say the Glazers don't spend, I'm not protecting them. I'm not a Glazer puppet. I've been called that this week. Thank you very much. You know who you are. But I'm just saying, I've been called, Koji, you know me. I'm not a Glazer puppet. But what I will say is when someone says the Glazers don't spend, 1.2 billion has been spent. It's as Neil said here, get Van der Sar as a director of football. It's been spent badly. And when you got a manager like Ollie, whether you like him or not, and I've seen a few comments here, if I can find them, I'll drop them up when Joe speaks. Here's the one here. I don't know how to say your name. Leica Skem. I'm just going to say it like that. Hello, mate. The day Ollie got the permanent contract, he has not been the same. You can't keep on blaming the squad. It's all about Ollie and why is Carrick coaching. Look, mate, at the end of the day, the managers haven't got the players they wanted. And the players that have come in have been on high salaries, high transfer fees, and they haven't fitted what you want to do. They've not fitted the style that United are going for, because they don't have a style. You went from Moyes to Van Gaal, two different styles. One was sitting deep, counter-attacking. The other one was possession-based. Then to Jose Mourinho. You know exactly what you're getting with Jose Mourinho. You have to back him. Why did they pull the plug on him 2 years into the project after spending huge amounts on Pogba, on Zlatan? That's made the club. That's hamstrung the club in terms of their finances. They can't spend what they want to this summer because they're still paying for legacy issues, legacy transfers from 3, 4, 5 years ago. Joe, I'm going to come on to you.
Yep.
Man United, as the guys were saying, they're completely right. As Kojo said, they bought smartly. They bought well within the league, and that was key. They went and bought the best players from like an Everton or a Spurs with Berbatov. They were great at that. But the Premier League now has a lot more money, and I think the problem is that teams now in Everton can go and buy Doucouré, they can go and buy James Rodriguez, they can go and buy Alan, they can buy fantastic players. United can't do that anymore. But if United aren't going to go and spend the big money on Sancho, on Upamecano, then they've got to be so smart in their recruitment. They've got to rely on buying young stars and developing them. If you look at the way that you're going for Bellingham, they missed out on him. When would the German club miss out on a German talent in their own country? That was unacceptable, completely unacceptable. And they got him for 25 million. United will be in for him for 100 million in about 2-3 years' time. Then you had Haaland as well. Oli, as Abdul said, we missed out on him. Oli coached him, gave him his debut. Apparently, and this is from Phil Brown's podcast. He said that United called up Haaland and basically said, "Oh, you want to come to United? We can give you this salary." Blah 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 blah. Dortmund called him up 3 times, brought him into Dortmund, and went through 3 tactical sessions with videos of Haaland on how they're actually going to play him, how he's going to fit into their squad. Of course, United missed out. Why? Because they haven't got footballing men in footballing positions.
The guy said it, by the way, Haaland himself. He said he felt that the only guy who wanted him at the club was Oli.
Yeah,
that's damning. That's bad.
Sorry. What did he say?
The only one
he felt that the only person who wanted him at the club was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and this is what I say, and this is why, as Neil says as well, he was saying earlier that we need to get director of football, and this is what I'm going to say to you, Joe, is that if Oli leaves tomorrow, the whole plan will go with him. We are building something. I know people can't see it. I will say probably Oli maybe isn't the best tactically. Yes, we can say that. He's not a Klopp. Yeah. He's not a Guardiola. That's not the point. That's not why he's here. He's here because he's got to clean up 7 years of crap. I don't want to swear because I don't know if you're allowed to swear on this channel or not. But it's 7 years of crap. But then you're not going to bring in a director of football to help him with the work. The problem is, Joe, that if you're not going to go and spend 100 million on Sancho, then you've got to buy the best young players around and have a plan and have a project that you're going to work with. And United are missing out on the best young players. So what is this strategy? It's not good enough. And Ollie's been left out to dry, in my opinion. I really do believe that. And it's hard to see because he's doing so much that is good.
Yeah, it's all about strategy, isn't it? And I think, first of all, United are licking their wounds. I mean, you guys have touched on it. United are sort of healing their wounds, I should say, from bad business over the last 6 or 7 years and not having those footballing people in those footballing positions. So like you say, they spent so much money on transfer fees and wages on players that if you're going to keep changing your manager, they're not going to fit systems, if you know what I mean. Can't remember what I was going to say now, but I had a quite good point on Ollie and it's gone. But
as the director of football, I mean, look, when I spoke to a few other journalists, they did say that Ollie is playing a director of football sort of role at the moment. Like he's doing everything. And like I said, look, if you're going to go and sack him in 8 games time, which is a very big possibility, if he doesn't hit the ground running this year, you're back at square one. And then what? You're asking Woodward then to work with, let's say, a Pochettino to get your targets. We're just doing the same thing every single time, and it's so frustrating.
It's a definition of insanity, isn't it? When you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, and that's where United are going wrong. They just, like you say, just keep seeming to make these same mistakes. And it was interesting that after they missed out on Haaland, obviously there was all this talk and the stories that they invited Bellingham to the training ground to have a look around the training ground. You're wondering whether that was some sort of copying of the story that was it you that said, Abdul, about Haaland going in and showing him tapes, or was that you, Hader? I can't remember. But yeah, it's almost if they're very reactive to things. They pick up on what other teams are doing and try and copy it. But by the time that they're copying it, teams have moved on to something much better and have already got the players that they wanted. And I think Phil Brown said on our transfer show a couple of times, if you're not going to sign the best players in the world, then, you have to be really sharp on trying to get the best young talents in the world. Yeah. The Bellinghams, you need to pick these, you need to be seeing these players before anybody else's. And I feel under Fergie, don't get me wrong, he didn't always get recruitment right. That setup didn't always get recruitment right. But they were very good at spotting players from other leagues, like Kojo said earlier in the show, people like Vidic that playing in the Russian league at Spartak Moscow, I think. I don't even think the club looks out there anymore because, we see young Brazilians who we're linked with all the time, but we don't sign them. The last young Brazilian we signed was Pereira.
He's not Brazilian, mate. He doesn't say anything. He's Belgian, guys. He's Belgian. I'm telling you. We've got two I like Fred. We've probably got 2 of the least technically gifted Brazilians you can buy out there. And look, that's only United to do that. But go on, mate.
Yeah. No, I just think that's what my point is. I just think if you're not going to be able to get the deals like Sancho over the line, you have to back up your scouting and your recruitment processes to make sure that you can get the Bellinghams over the line. I mean, Bellingham, he's played today. I think he's got an assist. He's 17 years old.
Yeah.
I've just remembered what I was going to say now. My point is Hansi Flick at Bayern Munich, before he got that job, nobody was saying he was a Pep Guardiola or a Jurgen Klopp, and he probably isn't. But what he is at a club that has got a strategy in place, that it works like a well-oiled machine, and he's got all the tools that he needs there to help him be successful. You know, he doesn't. I don't know if he's the best tactical coach. Well, Bayern Munich play really well, but let's be honest, they got some fantastic players. But sometimes, you know, if you put your strategy in place, you can cover the flaws of your manager if you do it cleverly, like other clubs are doing around Europe. Same with Favre at Borussia Dortmund. He's probably not best in the world. Dortmund have had some poor results, to say the squad that they've got.
Absolutely.
But they've got the right players, so sometimes it digs him out of a hole.
Yeah, I agree. And Jacob OC, just one thing, Abdul, I'm going to make a point. I'm going to come to you then, Kojo. But he says we need to be visionary, not reactionary. Completely agree. Look, the issue I have at Man United, I have no problems with waiting 2 or 3 years if we know that each year United have got that 3-year plan, even 5-year plan. They're going to spend this much, they're going to do this, and this. There's a director of football in place. What they are doing well, and I will say, is that they're buying youth well. Nicky Butt has done a fantastic job at United in completely revamping that whole academy system, which should be the lifeblood of Man United. Look, we all would love to go and sign Jadon Sancho. I still want Jadon Sancho, and I still would sign him. He would make such a big difference even today. Like, he's just got so much quality. But when United, what they were successful at is bringing in that youth players. That's our DNA. That's our identity. And what they've done is that they added quality to that. It sprinkles of quality. And the problem is at United is that they've neglected the academy for years. And then what they've done is they've neglected the first team with proper, clever transfers. What I will say to you, Abdul, is that I spoke to someone who's a Liverpool journalist. Obviously, we all hate Liverpool, but they've got one of the best data analytics departments in the whole of Europe. They're probably the best in the Premier League when it comes to signing players on data analytics. United about 4 or 5 years behind. And I was speaking to this person, and he said there's one guy at Liverpool who doesn't watch a player play, and he just solely pushes forward a player based on those analytics. Clearly, that's something that's working. United are in the dark ages when it comes to signing players, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, they are. Definitely they are. I know people don't like people who only speak in statistics because they love the eye test, you know, and the eye test is amazing. People who do statistics also use the eye test. I myself, I'm working here at part-time with a local team in data analytics, but I can't do my statistics if I don't use the eye test as well, because I want to know how his body position was like. I want to know how he received the ball, all that stuff. But at the same time, especially if you want to gather data about players from all over the leagues, from Germany, from Portugal, from Spain, from Italy, from all the leagues, and you want to see how your team play, how your manager wants your team to play, and then pick out all the talents that are very close or similar style to the players that you want. So, for example, we want Sancho, right? When I do my analytics, it pulls up for me all the lists of players that are very, very close to the play style of Sancho. And I gave a recommendation earlier that Calvin Things and AZ Alkmaar is the closest player we found that play in a similar style to Sancho. And he is like 5 times cheaper than Sancho. Why don't we go and buy him? Why is he not even mentioned? I don't even know that, because he's very similar to Sancho. No, we're going to a big name that we know that plays on the right wing, which is Bale. Bale doesn't play like Sancho. Bale is talented, but he doesn't play like Sancho at all. And it definitely does not fit the system that Oli wants to play. You know, he will help now. He will help us. No doubt. But he doesn't fit the criteria. So when you know that Liverpool are doing that, Klopp really doesn't have to worry about, you know, the talents he needs to pick. He trusts them in that way. I mean, I've heard a story about this from a journalist I know, and he said Jurgen Klopp never wanted Mo Salah at Liverpool.
He wanted Julian Brandt, didn't he?
Yeah, he was pushed and he was forced into signing Mo Salah because they guaranteed him that he's the one who fits his system, not the one the club wanted. They told him, you have to trust us on this one. Get this guy now. He fits your system like a glove. And club trusted them, and he went and got Mo Salah. And Mo Salah had an incredible season in the first season. And club apologized. Club was like, I raised my hand up for you guys. You know?
Absolutely.
Do we have that? No, we rely on the manager to be everything. To be the coach, the tactician, the football director, the recommendation, what do you want? Probably the only thing he doesn't do is the negotiation part, which obviously sucks.
Which he might be a bit better than those two absolute peanuts at the top, you know, Judge and Woodward.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, go on to Kojo. Mate, you make some fantastic points. Hello, Reese. How you doing, mate? It's good to see you on. I love the positivity during the game. Look, I'm trying to be positive. I really am. You know, I'll be honest with all you listeners. You can. This is actually a true story, and you can have a go at me. It's fine. But I was massively Ollie out in December of the season that passed, the last December. I was massively Ollie out. You know what? It's important in life to be able to admit when you're wrong. And what I will say is perhaps when I didn't take into consideration, when you look at the midfield that was playing, when you looked at the likes of Pereira, Lingard, Fred, I didn't give him enough time. But, you know, as time has gone on, he's proven that he's got a bit of steel about him. He obviously he isn't tactically inept because he's gone and beaten Pep 3 times. He's beaten Lampard 3 times. He's not an idiot. But what I will say is that at the end of the day, if people are blaming the manager, because there are a few people blaming the manager here, this is not a manager problem. And unfortunately, as Neil said here, if we don't win the next 4 league games, then he might be out the door. And this is a point that we need to, I know people are focusing on the Glazers, but they need to understand the actual problems at the club. Just don't stop at just the Glazers, you know. At the end of the day, there's so many more issues that we have. And as Abdul has shared today, there's so much in terms of the scouting. Why do they want Jadon Sancho? I'm starting to doubt why they want Jadon Sancho because, as you said, Calvin Stengs is a similar player. I didn't know that, and thanks for letting me know. But if they want Sancho, you got to think, are they doing it for commercial reasons? Because if they wanted a like for like, they could bring someone in on a fraction of the price. And this is a point. And as we said, Ralph Rangnick as a director of football, I would absolutely love that, mate. He would be phenomenal. And as Stephen Reed says here, so is it our scouting system that isn't working then? Look, I think it's going to take time to implement these things. Like I said, Nicky Butt's doing a great job. And I think what he's doing is he's obviously trying to revamp that whole system. And that's the lifeblood of our club. But I just think that it's going to take time. But what we need to see is we need the manager still to get back in the first team. I'm going to go on to you, Kojo, now. If he doesn't get back, because I just don't see a centre-back coming in, would you like to? We need to split up this partnership, right? It's just not working. I know I'm laughing. I was so upset during the game. I was deflated, but it's just not working. And this is something Ollie needs to do, doesn't it? It is on him to change this. You got Mengi there sitting in the academy. He's got all the sort of raw attributes you would want next to Maguire. I'm not a big Maguire fan either. I think United really got fleeced on that fee completely. But looking at Mengi, he's aggressive. He's quick. He's good on the ball. I mean, United should be looking to bring him in, shouldn't they?
Well, you see, you won't find me arguing with you about Harry Maguire because anyone that's listened to Breakdown and Banter from last year and any other show I've been on, when they ask me about Harry Maguire, I tend to say I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble.
Talk about him. I want to hear your thoughts, like honestly, your thoughts, because I think a lot of people might be agreeing with you. So far away, mate.
I was never really convinced by Harry Maguire in the first place. I understand that he did well, but for me, he stood out in a team that was really relegated. And I know Liverpool went to go and sign. There's nothing wrong with signing players from the relegation team because Liverpool signed Robertson and it's worked. And then apparently, well, Ms. Mourinho said when he was working at BBC Sky Sports as a pundit that he tried to get Maguire as well, and they told him no. So you would have got him cheaper as well. So obviously people have seen something in him. Me personally, I think he knows how to tackle. I think he knows that the basics of defending, which you need in a lot of games. But I think he overestimates how agile and quick he is, as in he's not any of that. And he tends to put himself in situations where he is worst off because he can't deal with people's speed, which is fine. You get gifted with speed. I can't scream at you for not being fast, but position yourself better. Use your intelligence a bit more. Defend better. But anyway, in general, I feel like Sancho is wanted for the right reasons, and I'll go into it a little bit because I feel like he's the kind of player we need down the right side. Not only is he someone that can beat players with the ball, he's someone that his movement is quite intelligent. He's someone that runs in behind. He can go direct down the wing and whip a ball in. He can also beat players with a ball in another way, finding a pass, go for a shot. I think it makes sense to go for someone like him. But my worry is, if you can't get option A, where is option B? Where is option C? It's not like Liverpool who couldn't get Van Dijk, but they waited 6 months because they could outscore many other teams.
Yeah.
Because we don't play like we can outscore many other teams. Even though we've got the players to do so, we don't play like it. Whereas Liverpool were going gung-ho. They used to call it heavy metal football, but they were just gegenpressing over and over. So they were just creating chance after chance after chance and scoring goals. That it worked for them. So even though they're conceding goals, not winning as many games, they could have that little bit of patience to wait for Van Dijk to come in, and then they go from there. And then they added Alisson. That's where my issue is. Where is your plan B? Because if you want Sancho and you're that desperate to get him and you have no plan B option, you must go all out to get your man.
The problem is, Kojo, like you make some great points, but the problem is that United, like I said earlier to Abdul, they have this arrogance, right? They know, Dortmund have told United the price is 108 million pounds, 120 million euros. I guarantee this, that United honestly think they can go into that final week and drive that price down. And you know what's going to happen? They've missed out on Bale, because I think he would have probably been a good signing. Again, he probably isn't the same sort of player, but he's still a very good player. Yeah. You know, they're going to be scrambling around. You know who they'll end up with? They'll end up with Douglas Costa, because Juve want to get his high wages off their books. And what's going to happen? You know who I would go for?
That's like going the opposite direction completely.
Yeah,
completely. Yeah.
Completely.
But this is what they will do, because there's not footballing people in footballing positions.
Bro, this is heritage. This is footballing heritage. You go for players like you guys were talking about the scouting network just a minute ago, right? Really and truly, all the transfers that we've had since 2013, how many gems have we found? Really and truly, how many undercover talent? Like City went and unearthed Gabriel Jesus. No matter what people think of him, he scored enough goals to do his thing at City. He's not a flop. It's worked for him, and he's still young. Like, we're not looking. When we were linked to Sadio Mane, I can guarantee you, I remember this on Twitter, and any United fans that try and deny it, you're lying. On Twitter, why are we going to sign a player from Southampton for?
Yeah, I remember this.
Sadio Mane himself confirmed it. Sadio Mane himself confirmed it, that he was about to join United, but he found that the interest from Liverpool and the way they did things were better, and so he went there. Like, I'm not going to United.
There you go. You know, you said it yourself. How can you bring Haaland to your stadium, to your thing, and just show him around whilst other teams are saying, look, this is how we want to use you? You have to try and persuade a player to come. People will talk about, oh, it's Ferguson, he must have shown them gigs. And I'm sure when they brought the guys there, they said, look, this is going to be your role. This is how you're going to play. Don't try and think you can get a player, because I think they leave that to Ole, but the Ole can only do that once the player is signed, because you don't allow him to be in negotiations anyway. So how is he going to detail to a player what he wants? Otherwise, he's going to shake hands. This is the team. This is where we train, and you're gone. It's stupid. There is no logic behind what we do on any level whatsoever, from top to bottom. Yeah. It's all just finance. And even when it comes to selling players, they can't even sell players right. I mean, imagine if, for example, James Garner, he comes back from loan, and we're like, he's not going to make it. He's not good enough. See how Liverpool bought Dom Solanke on a free transfer and sold him next year after playing 10 games as substitutes for £24 million. Imagine Man United trying to do that right now with a player. It will be a joke thing. But that's the point. We are not at that level now. We don't think like that because we don't have football players there.
We don't have David Gill, we don't have Fergie, and I mean, I'm going to ask Joe, because I know Joe had something to say. Kojo, fantastic.
Yeah, sorry,
go on, Joe, mate. If you've got anything to add to that. And what I will say, I'm going to bring up... sorry, mate, I think I'm saying your name incorrectly. I'm just going to call you Scam because it's easier to say. But guys, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. This is a fantastic chat. Myself, Kojo, and Abdul will be on every single week. I am the new Usman. I look a little bit like him with a beard, but I don't really have as many of the banter as he does. But you know what? Like, I'll do an all right job. But anyway, look, what he says here, I know you've got a view. And look, mate, you're more than entitled to put your view in here. Like, we're really happy that you're putting your view, even if it's something that I disagree with and that maybe other people might do. There are a lot of people that do agree with you, and your view is that you don't think the manager's the right man. Look, I will give a complete and honest view on the manager. If you're going to compare him tactically and you look at his CV, of course he's not. Of course he's not on the Klopp's level. And look, there is this view, and it is a right view in some areas, of some quarters of the fan base, that United should be going for the best. United should have the best stadium, the best players, the best infrastructure, the best fans. We got the best fans, at times, and obviously the best manager. But you have to remember, this is not Man United under Sir Alex. This is 7 years of terrible decisions, bad spending, no planning. Yeah. United in a position where they needed someone to come in and reset the culture of the club. You can say what you want, but this is a happier bunch of players than when Mourinho was here. Whatever you have to say. Mourinho was a world-class manager with the CV, with the trophies. He came in and he was a disaster. I'm not saying don't bring someone in. I'm saying is you've got Ollie. Ollie's managed to take you from A to B. And what does that mean? United are going to fix this mess. Do I think Ollie can win the title with us? That remains to be seen. I'm not going to say he can. I'm not going to say he can't. But United need to fix this mess so that if a better manager comes in later, he can take the club from B to C. We have to be smart. We have to be patient. The issue is that the owners aren't allowing us to get to B. We're still stuck in the middle of A. And this is a point. So before going in and having got the manager saying he's not a man manager, that's rubbish, because we had a manager like Mourinho and half our top players wanted to leave. So let's have a little bit of perspective. Let's not slam Ollie because of his CV, because a lot of people do that. And quite frankly, you need to see with your own eyes rather than to just look at his CV and think Cardiff, he got relegated. So that's my last point on Ollie. Joe, I took the floor too much there, but I'm going to ask you one question. Are you worried about our prospects for the season because we're running out of time?
No, not yet. I'm not the sort of person to overreact to one game. One thing I just want to pick up on quickly there is a couple of things. One with the managers there, like I've said before, there's a lot of managers out there managing big teams at the moment. You can look at their CV and say, oh, well, what have they done, and things like that. But they're at clubs that have got the right structure. And I think if you've got the right structure at a club, then that's the key. Because I ain't being funny, we didn't know much about Pep Guardiola before he went to Barcelona. Yes, he was blessed to have fantastic players, but at that time, Barcelona had a good youth system and everything worked together. The couple of players that they brought in, they bought smartly. They sold well as well. They had to get some of their bigger players out, and they did that. Again, like I said before, Hansi Flick's coming at Bayern Munich. I didn't know about his coaching experience, to be fair, but he's inherited a great team. I get it, but
proper football club, Joe. Proper football club. That's what I'm trying to say, is that he's got full. Yeah, he's got the tools to be a top manager. United aren't giving Ollie that. So before you have a go at Ollie, I'm saying to fans, look at what's going on behind the scenes.
And my last point is that I just wanted to make, which is what I want to make before, is we've been talking about a DOF a lot tonight. I've got to be honest with you. I'm so curious to see how it worked, because even if we did bring in a DOF, yes, you could argue that we'd have a better strategy and it's a step in the right direction. But would they back him any more than they would back the manager? I mean, that DOF still got to go to the board, to Woodward, to the Glazers, and say, we need this player, but it's going to cost this amount of money. So I just feel like it's another stepping stone, if you know what I mean. I mean, I'm really intrigued to see how it plays out, and I do think that that's where we need to go. But I don't think there's any guarantee that if we got a DOF in, he'd have any more success at getting the targets than what the manager's trying to have at the moment, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, agreed. Abdul, I'm going to give you the final word. Go ahead, mate. What have you got to say?
On the same point that Joe was talking about with the managers, comparing some managers that don't have experience, just like Ollie. There was a research done before by someone called Stefan Szymanski, I think. And I think he works at Oxford or Harvard, if my memory serves. And he was talking about how management works in leading to success, right? And from all the teams and the leagues that he's analyzed, there are more managers that went into clubs and won things without experience at all than managers that came to clubs and succeeded with a pedigree, like people say. And what that led him to believe is that managers are not the be-all and end-all in a club. It's what the teams they walked in on and the structure of the club that they walked in on. Managers, to him in his research, he said the manager's effect is about 15% to 20% to the success. That's his credit. And he gave so many examples. And I think the one of the examples that was very vivid in my mind, and it happened very recently, was Claudio Ranieri when he won the league with Leicester. He said Claudio Ranieri, his CV is mediocre, and all the journalists in Italy called him the biggest loser. That was his name. He went to Leicester, first year, won the league with them. Claudio Ranieri, of course, didn't credit the success to himself. He said it's my players. And that's, by the way, something that all managers say. They say my success is based on my players, not me. Sir Alex Ferguson said it, but Guardiola said it. It's like, so how can someone as mediocre as Claudio Ranieri win the league with Leicester, who have never won the Premier League? Is he the best tactician in the world? Is he a genius and we didn't know because most of his years were mediocre? He didn't win anything before. And they realized that's just that he had the perfect team at the time to play the style he wanted to play.
Yeah, their recruitment. Yeah. Look at they brought people like Kante, like Mahrez, and players. Yeah. I'm not saying that we all knew that if they bought those players they'd win a league, but if you look at the way that Steve Walsh, who was their recruitment guy, I think Everton poached him, didn't they? I think people made a bigger deal of people like Craig Shakespeare, who's gone on to be an assistant now. He was part of the recruitment. Walsh, people like that. And when you look at the players that have left that squad, I mean, obviously Jamie Vardy's still there. He's a bit different the way they unearthed him, but the way that they found N'Golo Kante, the way that they found Riyad Mahrez. I don't even know where Riyad Mahrez was before he came to Leicester. What do you guys may know? But same with
recruitment is about 50% of the success.
Yeah, they had the right players for the system that they needed to play, and that system could win a Premier League. It proves it. They did it.
Absolutely, guys. Look, we've run out of time. It's been absolute pleasure having you both on it. You have been all three of you. Sorry, guys, I missed that one there. Been absolutely brilliant. So insightful. Look, guys. Look, my final word is going to be. Look, you can tell me to shut up. That's fine. But what I am going to say is that today was absolutely diabolical. It was terrible. It was shocking. No one should deny that. And we're not here to deny that. Are we, boys? Yeah, exactly. We're not here to deny that. We're not here to say it's okay. What we're here to do is we're here to break it down. I'm sorry there's not been enough banter. I know there's been a lot of breakdown, but not banter. But what we're here to do is to just put a little bit of perspective on it. We know the situation. We know the owners. But what we've got to do is we've got to get behind the team. We've got to try and, we've got to support our club. At the end of the day, I've said this about a week ago, and I'm going to say it again. I'm reserving judgment to the end of the window. You never know. United could come out with Sanchez. It could come out with the Tellez as well. That improves the squad. Is it good enough? No. Do we need more? Yes. But all I want to see from the players week in, week out, and I didn't see it today, was that fight, that passion, the desire for the shirt. And that's the thing that's unacceptable. So I don't want to see Ollie out tonight. I don't want to see people going at each other. I just want to see us try and unite. I want to see us get behind the team, and I want to see us support them, because that is the most important thing. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. I hope you've enjoyed this show. It's been a bit of a long one, but it's been absolutely great fun. And we will see you next week for a banter and breakdown.